Hi, I'm Jon Atack.
Hi, I'm Ursula Wake, and this is Lyrical Wax.
And today we have Cold Mountain, poems of Hanshan, translated by Burton Watson, the great American translator of Oriental works. China's very interesting because there's such a long literary tradition, longer than anywhere else. There's a continuous tradition going back from several centuries BC to the present day, unbroken, despite the different dynasties and communism and all of that. And so they've got some great stuff. They've got lots of great stuff, which we don't see enough of. Hanshan was a member of the Southern Chan Buddhist congregation. Chan is a Chinese pronunciation of the Sanskrit word dhyana, and when the Japanese got hold of it, it became Zen. And so it's all about the sounds in the languages that dhyana became Chan, Chan became Zen. And it migrated to China in about 500 AD, about 1,000 years after the Buddha, when the Bodhidharma found the Shaolin temple where Kung Fu will eventually be developed. I'm not really sure he would have approved of that. And it's still there.
Not even when pandas do it?
Not even when, well, it's true. But they are still monks doing astonishingly strange things at the Shaolin temple to this day. And Hanshan, as with many characters in Chinese history and literature, it's impossible to place him. He's somewhere between the 6th and the 9th centuries. And the only account of him is given by somebody who claims to have been a particular court official, and he can't have been that person. So it's all shrouded in mystery. He was apparently, it is said, allegedly a farmer who had been bankrupted and became a monk, and went and lived with his chum, who was called Shi Te, and they lived on the side of Cold Mountain, Tian Pai Mountains in southern China. And left behind, there are 300 poems by the two of them. These are all from Hanshan, and so they're about they're philosophical reflections, but they're also great good fun. So let's start. And this is a great little edition which Steve Hassan bought for me in, I think, 1991 when I was in Boston visiting him. What a lovely man.
So the first one I'm going to have is, they don't have titles, they just have numbers. So this is number 10. Here we languish, a bunch of poor scholars, battered by extremes of hunger and cold. Out of work, our only joy is poetry. Scribble, scribble, we wear out our brains. Who will read the works of such men? On that point you can save your sighs. We could inscribe our poems on biscuits, and the homeless dogs wouldn't deign to nibble. I like that, especially because apparently he wrote some of the poems were found scribbled on rocks and on walls of local buildings and stuff like that, and logs.
He's a kind of Keith Haring of his day, a graffiti artist. And there's a tradition that runs through the Chan schools of writing clever things on walls.
Ah, right.
Said that the 6th patriarch of Chan, so Bodhidharma is the first. The 5th patriarch has challenged his monks to write statements on the wall so that he can choose who will succeed him. And everybody thinks that the senior monk will succeed him because he's so smart and clever. And the monastery cook writes this absurdist poem, and he's summoned in the dead of night by the patriarch, who says, "Here is my robe, here is my bowl," which is the normal transmission. Go into hiding because the chief monk will have you. And so the 6th patriarch goes and lives with the homeless until it's finally safe for him to come forward.
Oh, interesting.
So here we are. This is, and I think the numbering in this is Burton Watson's numbering, so I don't think there's even a traditional numbering system.
Okay, so it's, no great meaning to it.
You have to rush out and get this one, which is the Shambhala Publications version, which is probably quite difficult to find now, but you can borrow mine if you come round. So this is number 21. Great titles. When I see a fellow abusing others, I think of a man with a basket full of water. As fast as he can, he runs with it home, but when he gets there, what's left in the basket? When I see a man being abused by others, I think of the leek growing in the garden. Day after day, men pull off the leaves. But the heart it was born with stays the same.
Think on. And another thing that made me think was, because we just dig up the whole leek.
Yeah.
That was one of my immediate thoughts when I thought, they use leeks differently when they cook. One leaf at a time.
This special
Fair enough,
wisdom.
because we throw away too much of a leek. There you go.
Don't throw too much away of your leeks. That's the moral of this Zen tale.
Yeah, I don't think
This
that's
koan.
anything to do with that. I look far off at Tientai's summit, alone and high above the crowding peaks. Pines and bamboos sing in the wind that sways them. Sea tides wash beneath the shining moon. I gaze at the mountains' green borders below and discuss philosophy with the white clouds. In the wilderness, mountains and seas are all right. But I wish I had a companion in my search for the way.
And we don't know whether the original word used there was Dharma, which is the Buddhist word for the way, or Tao. Because the Chan schools, the Zen schools, are a combination of these two forces. Alan Watts, at the end of his life, having pretty much been the man who introduced Zen Buddhism to popular culture in America after the Second War, and there are a lot of questions about that, he at the end of his life said, I was wrong, because it's not the Zen, it's not the Buddhist part that interests me. I've discovered it's the Taoist part. And the example he gives is, he says, if a Zen master tells a novice to go and meditate for 2 hours, the novice goes and meditates for 2 hours. If a Taoist master tells a novice to meditate for 2 hours, the novice goes and meditates for 2 hours, if he feels like it. And that's much more my approach, I must say. It's a lot less serious. Among 1,000 clouds and 10,000 streams, here lives an idle man. In the daytime, wandering over green mountains, at night coming home to sleep by the cliff. Swiftly, the springs and autumns pass, but my mind is at peace, free from dust or delusion. How pleasant to know I need nothing to lean on, to be still as the waters of the autumn river. That's one of those still waters run deep, and it's like still waters don't actually run at all. Still as the waters of the autumn river. Does the autumn river stop flowing around that part of the world? One imagines not. So what is he telling us? It's very confusing. I'm very confused now.
Well, you chose the poem. That's all I can say.
I've been very confused for a long time, so it makes no difference.
Be happy if there's something to be happy about. When the moment comes, don't lose it. Though they say life lasts 100 years, who has seen a full 30,000 days? You're in this world no more than an instant. So don't sit there grumbling about money. At the end of the classic of filial piety, it tells you all about what funerals are like.
And I believe the classic filial piety would be Dongfutsu, or Confucius as he's generally known in the West, which tells you how to think and how to behave, and is the longest lasting political philosophy in the world. For 2,500 years to this day, China has been ruled by a Confucian system. A version of it was adopted by George W. Bush. It's called neoconservatism. And it has many similarities to the Confucian way. One of which is you don't have to believe in it yourself, but you have to get the people to believe in a God, all of these principles, so that you'll keep conformity. Taught by Leo Strauss, who was the master of Dick Cheney and Don Rumsfeld, I believe, at Chicago University. And it is a ludicrous nonsense in that case. I'm not going to make any comment about Confucianism because I don't want any Confucianists coming around and beating me up, but not worried about
Sounds
Americans.
quite similar to Machiavelli.
Yes,
in that particular respect.
Exactly, yes. That it doesn't matter how many lies you tell as long as the people do as they're told.
Yeah.
Nastiness. 65. Yesterday I saw the trees by the river's edge wrecked and broken beyond belief, only 2 or 3 trunks left standing, scarred by blades of 1,000 axes. Frost strips the yellowing leaves. River waves pluck at withered roots. This is the way the living must fare. Why curse at heaven and earth?
91. Body clothed in a no-cloth robe, feet clad in turtle's fur boots. I seize my bow of rabbit horn and prepare to shoot the devil, ignorance. I love that bit of nonsense. Turtle's fur boots and rabbit horn.
And it's an absurdism that will run through certain aspects of Chan and Zen. It does sometimes get a little overly serious, and it becomes very cultic, I fear, in our own times. But the no cloth is an aspect of Buddhist thinking that if an object exists, there must be a kind of anti-object, very much like matter and antimatter.
Oh, right, okay.
So you have one of the essential concepts in Zen is mu, spelled M-U, and you can buy mu tea, which is very nice, actually, if it's properly made, lotus root and stuff. And mu means no thing. It doesn't mean nothing.
Nothing.
It means
Okay.
no thing, the absence of thing. Very clever stuff, and much beloved by those who like to compare quantum physics to Buddhist and Taoist philosophy, like Fritjof Capra, who was the first person to have a bestseller doing that. I'm not so sure about those comparisons personally, but then I don't know whether the cat's alive or dead in the box. So
Yeah,
it's hard
so,
to say, a
yeah.
thing or a no thing. 93. Here is a tree older than the forest itself. The years of its life defy reckoning. Its roots have seen the upheavals of hill and valley. Its leaves have known the changes of wind and frost. The world laughs at its shoddy exterior and cares nothing for the fine grain of the wood inside. Stripped, free of flesh and hide, all that remains is the core of truth. And that does make me reflect upon how old some trees are. That we have sequoias that are 2,000 years old. Then you have bristlecone pines, which are 4,500 years old. And then somebody came along and found a creosote bush that is 11,000 years old.
Wow.
So a living entity that has continued for that long during our short lives with our turtle fur boots.
Yeah. Yes, there are stingy people, but I'm not one of the stingy kind. The robe I wear is flimsy, the better to dance in. Wine gone, it went with a toast and a song. Just so you keep your belly full, never let those 2 legs go weary. When the weeds are poking through your skull, that's the day you'll have regrets.
Yeah, don't waste your
I
time.
like that as an attitude to life.
And that's very much influenced by Taoist philosophy. You find it again and again through China, century on century, the vinegar tasters. And it's an image of the Buddha, Confucius, Jinfutsu, and Lao Tzu, one of the founders of Taoism. And we see them all tasting vinegar. And Confucius is going like that. And the Buddha is serene, and Lao Tzu is smiling. And this is the attitude towards life, which we find, especially in the other great Taoist philosopher, Jiangsu, who's just saying, oh, come on, what are you being so miserable about? And that, the good part of Zen Buddhism, Chan Buddhism, has that idea within it.
Okay.
The other part is miserable. And they beat you with the Zen stick when you're meditating and stuff like that. Just absolute crazy.
Make sure you haven't fallen asleep.
Yeah, absolutely. Not meant to... you're meant to pay attention at all times. That was the first... when I was 18, I spent a few days in the Zen monastery that had opened in Northumberland here. It had just opened. It was its first year. And the first thing that was said to me by a monk there were 5 monks and the master and one other layperson there, was, we don't use the Zen stick. And I was sort of, what's the Zen stick? They said, in a Japanese temple, Zen temple, if you move at all, they will thwack you. And sort of, this is not my idea of healthy practice of any kind, you know. But they don't use it if you want to go there, apparently. 98, and this will be the final verse for today. So these are 10 of the top poems of Hanshan. My mind is like the autumn moon, shining clean and clear in the green pool. No, that's not a good comparison. Tell me, how shall I explain?
Yes, the question of poets everywhere and lyricists everywhere.
And there it is, a beautiful little book. Thank you so much. I'm Jon Atack.
I'm Ursula Wake. Thanks very much for your time.
See you again soon. Goodbye.